Welcome to Murphy, Sam, and Jody after the show. And in case you haven't heard by now, if you've missed a few podcasts, we're on vacation through July the 19th. We'll be back on the 19th. But we're mixing and matching after the show podcast. So we actually do have some episodes that we're doing for you while we're on vacation. And we're also doing some ICYMI moments for you in case you missed it moments for the After the Show podcast. So enjoy both, and we'll see you back again on the 19th. Welcome to Murphy, Sam, and Jody after the show.
So for the last couple of weekends, at least once during the weekend, Murphy heads over to his mom and dad's home, the home you grew up in.
Yep.
And you and your brother and sister have been going through all of the things, and I haven't been going very much these times. But
yeah, you've got other things going on. That's fine. You know,
I did stop by.
You did stop by, which is really cool.
Offered to bring lunch. Brought lunch once.
Yeah.
Is that because you got everything you wanted from the house and you don't need to go anymore?
No. Why would you say that? And I didn't want anything.
That's true. You actually didn't.
I did say that.
In fact, there have been more things that I've asked you if you want, and you're like, no, I don't want that.
Wait, we got...
Yeah, but you did get a giraffe lamp and a...
We got the Boss Hog...
porcelain thing.
Cookie jar.
Yeah.
We named him Boss Hog, and I got the owl, the garden owl.
Oh, that's right.
Which I love.
Well, like the thing is, truthfully, obviously you're welcome to be there. It's just stuff, right? I mean, it's just stuff. There's lots of work to be done. There's lots of things that need to be gone through, and I'd say maybe we're 40% of the way through it by doing every other weekend or almost. I mean, there were couples that we did every weekend.
What's going to happen to all the NASCAR stuff? And I'm not putting my dibs in on any of that. Trust me.
That's one reason I wanted to bring it up, because I walked in the main. There was a NASCAR room in this house.
Right.
And I popped in on the other day, on Saturday, and I walked into the main room, which was the NASCAR room, and it's empty almost.
Yeah.
What happened to all the NASCAR stuff?
Well, Talladega was on Sunday. That's when you should have come by.
So, what's crazy about that, and just so the backstory, my mother was really the huge NASCAR fan. My dad loved it, but when my mother passed away 5 years ago, of course, my dad passed in January, but when my mom passed, he kind of lost his love for it. He would follow some of the races, but then eventually it just didn't resonate with him.
They enjoyed together.
They enjoyed
That's
it
why.
together. And,
probably.
And it's interesting that she became so fanatical about car racing, but she was, and she loved, Dale Earnhardt Jr. The day that Dale Earnhardt, passed in the crash, senior.
When she called.
I thought somebody in the family had.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I mean, she was so upset. I was scared. And, and that certainly doesn't trivialize the accident and the Dale Seniors.
It just didn't mean to you what it meant to her.
But I did not realize, for her to call me out of the blue after 2 weeks, and that's the first thing that she's telling me, I was really kind of thrown off guard by that. But anyway, and I also had no idea that they had been kind of just collecting things as they went along. Most of these are these little die-cast cars.
Oh, yeah.
I guess they're larger Hot Wheels cars, but then they actually have some true collector's edition, cars for each of the drivers. And my parents, because they keep everything, kept most of the boxes. So when we finally started unloading the curio cabinets, these were all in curio cabinets.
In perfect condition is the point.
Well, yeah, because they never mess with any of that. Just put them back in the box, right? Put them back in the box.
None of that.
And
what are you going to do with that?
I guess we're just going to sell them.
Yes.
I mean, we only have a handful of things. There are not that many things to sell, but we've got enough of that to bundle. What?
So much collectible stuff.
You're not coming around the house, so how do you know?
I've been in that
I'm just
room.
kidding you.
I've been in and out of that room. There's so much stuff, and for you to tell me there's more in the curios, that is a huge.
No, what I'm saying is
deal for collectors.
Yes,
to find.
There's NASCAR stuff. I mean, what I'm saying is there are not a ton of things.
Too.
Yeah, so
there's Harley stuff.
But my dad didn't actually collect as many Harley things. But we went through that part. He had his own curio cabinet with his Harley stuff too. Mm-hmm. But the Harley cabinet had these. I don't even know what you call them, but they were like tributes to Harley engines throughout the years that were kind of on this mounted piece of wood.
The engine was mounted,
but it wasn't the real engine. It wasn't even a replica. It was like the metallic tribute to it. I don't even know how to explain what that is. A trophy is what it looked like, but it wasn't a trophy. So anyway, most of what we have, it's about 3 full boxes. And when I say full boxes, I'm talking about when you go to Home Depot and you get the large moving boxes, 3 large moving boxes of nothing but NASCAR collectibles. And then there's NASCAR clothing that she had. And then there are caps. And wow, I'm trying to think of some of the other things that have been saved. It was just there's a NASCAR clock.
They have a lot of NASCAR stuff. Then they have a lot of Harley stuff, and they have a lot of Blue Angels stuff, which is really super cool. And I do hope some of it stays in the family. That would be okay with me if some of that came home to our house.
But there's actually not that much blue. There's not that much.
There's a few. There's a few.
Yeah, I mean, you've got one, maybe two little boxes. The NASCAR stuff dwarfs everything else because she had an entire room, attributed
the NASCAR
to
room.
that. So I guess if I were going through anything that they have that's collectible, it's going to have to be somebody who's an aviation buff, because my dad has a ton of flying magazines. He was a lifetime subscriber to Flying
Kept
magazine.
Kept them all.
There's a Harley publication that he got, and he kept every issue of that.
Man.
But it's weird. The more that we go through, even though I say that they kept everything, they didn't buy a ton of stuff unless it was something that they were really, really interested in. When my mother started to buy NASCAR, they were filling a room up, with whatever she bought. But they just didn't. They weren't consumers of lots of big things. You know what I mean? So there's either the family knickknacks and memorial stuff, or paperwork out the because they kept every check or what have you, and that's it. I mean, it's really, but it's stuff because there were things that they would they didn't get rid of any of their old hard drives from their computers. They didn't get rid of the old computers. They didn't get rid of old toaster ovens. They didn't get rid of old. I know. I'm trying to think.
Anything.
Yeah, I mean, literally, if it was...
I don't know why I'm laughing, because the same fate awaits me.
I know. Your mother doesn't get rid of anything, Sam.
So it's really... What's funny is we laugh about that, but it is the ultimate trip down memory lane. Yeah. When your parents don't throw away anything, then it's like the chronology of your life.
It's the first day when I went in there, when you guys were trying to decide which room to tackle first.
Yeah.
I remember looking at your sister and saying, people say this as a cliche that it's a lifetime of memories. I'm like, but this really is a lifetime of memories. Your entire childhood is in that house still.
Yeah.
Literally. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I do think that you should share right here and right now, Murphy, the method in which, so that if anybody listening to this podcast has ever had to tackle a house that's full of things, how to do it so you don't feel completely overwhelmed. Because your sister came up with this system, which was really smart.
Yeah.
Drop it on us.
Well, I mean, she's kind of developed it as we've gone, but she's really good at organizing anyway. And I don't know if it's magical or not. I do need to say that, because when I say my dad was young, he was 78 when he passed. So it's not the same situation as my grandmother's house, where my grandmother lived so long, they had to remortgage the house to pay for her care. Mm-hmm. So there was a very limited time period that they had to get things out of the house because they owed a lot of money that was going to come due within 1 year.
Right.
So they had to sell the house quickly. That's not the case with my dad's house. They bought this house in 1966. They never really did anything else. It's so because the house, they paid off the house. There's no
rush.
There's no rush, and I'm really glad for that, because it gives us a chance to actually go through in an organized way and get rid of the things. But what my sister did first, she actually went in first and organized all the paperwork, since that's really where if my dad kept too much of anything, that's what it was. He would print things out that were online and keep them and keep them and keep them. So there were just reams and reams of paper at first. And then we decided we would tackle one room at a time. And it was just kind of random the way we started. And I'm actually glad we started with their bedroom, because their bedroom took the longest out of anything, because that's where all of his stuff was from his childhood. And, boxes of little bitty things. In fact, we had to finally decide we're not going to go through the little things until we get done with the big things, because you could get lost on a whole weekend just going through memory. So we've taken those things and just set them aside and purged, and we have donated a ton of stuff. Most of the stuff is not worth reselling on eBay. I'm sure there's somebody who does that for a living and would do fine, but we just, if it's not something that's got great value, then it's been donated,
Right.
To help somebody out.
Are you going to do a garage sale, or are you going to do all eBay? I mean,
So-
an estate sale.
I don't see you guys doing an estate sale.
No, there's no reason to do. That's what's weird about this. And maybe some people would
Some
beg
people
to differ,
would.
but
That
there really
house
isn't.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I've been to estate sales where it's like, oh, this is the blankety blank room. This person collected blankety blank.
Yeah.
You could do that. And if you put a NASCAR room on the advertisement for an estate sale, oh my God, people would be lining up.
Well, I mean, I think our hope is
Certain people.
we're going to try to sell as much of it in bulk as we can.
Yes.
So that it's packaged together, because it's so many little things.
You could spend your whole. It
But
would be a job
I
to
don't.
do it
What
alone.
we'll wind up selling is furniture, which will probably be Facebook Marketplace or something like that. I can't imagine that we're actually going to need to have a garage sale. And I know that sounds insane, but the stuff that they kept
So to
was
them
sentimental
only.
family stuff, not the kind of things that really resell.
Yeah.
Right.
And and like the corral and all that kind of stuff, to me, it
Donate.
would not be worth the time and energy to put together those kinds of things that are going to sell for 5 cents a piece. You know what I mean? To take up a whole weekend. So we've just
5
all of
cents
that,
a piece. Those are great
right?
prices.
We have just donated.
Yeah.
Any avocado colored appliance has been donated.
Yeah.
But so it's really mostly that. It's very strange because it's really cool to see the childhood memories. There are a lot of things we're like, okay, nobody want this. Okay, let's take a picture. Great, we'll donate it because it's fun. It's a fun memory to keep, but it's not something that you would
Right.
physically want to keep. And so we've now gone through every major room in the house except for one, and most everything has either been boxed and organized to what it is that we still need to go through, but we had to clear paths first.
Yes.
That actually is
So
what's
much
funny.
stuff.
I think about what you've always said about your mom, Sam, because when you could not walk in 3 rooms of this house. Actually, in their bedroom, you couldn't walk at all on the other side of the bed. They had piled up so many things. We had to actually create space to work within, before we could do anything.
That looks
And
like
so-
that sounds like those hoarder shows.
It's kind of what it was, but
You don't want to say that because you don't want to label, but
Yeah.
they didn't get rid of anything.
yeah.
They really didn't, and I don't know.
And it's mostly the paperwork stuff. That's really, for whatever reason, it was, newspapers everywhere. It was,
There's
a
million magnets on the refrigerator, like every little thing, and your mom liked little miniature versions of things. Like we find miniature everything.
yeah.
She liked, oh, this is so cute. And so she would buy it. Anything that you can imagine, there's a miniature version of it, she had it.
Yeah.
And they're on shelves everywhere.
Yeah. So at the end of that, you would think with a house full of stuff, there would be room for a garage sale. I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be a handful of things that it would be easier to sell on eBay, and then the rest.
You're donating, which is lovely. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So, but
One thing that went recently to a family member is a bar. They had a bar. And when I say that, it looks like if you walked into a bar room that you could put this in here and it's like, stand behind the bar. What can I get you to drink? It was a bar. And your brother Duke has it now in his house, which is super cool.
That makes sense for Duke, though.
It does.
Yeah. Well, it's really funny. My dad quit drinking 30 years ago, and so he really had no reason. But that any piece of furniture they had, again, if it wasn't broken, they weren't
kept
going
it.
to get rid of it.
That's theirs.
Yeah, right.
It was theirs.
And so that bar is probably it has 2 collapsing sides to it, so that you can put it together or you can open it up as a full bar to serve, and then it's got the cabinets on the back and
What
the
were
light.
they using it for?
Storage.
NASCAR.
NASCAR. It was in the NASCAR room.
Yeah.
Step into the NASCAR bar.
Yeah, right. So my brother has that now, and he's got the curio cabinets that the NASCAR stuff was in, and he has some of his own personal memorabilia in it, which is really cool. That's the kind of stuff I like seeing.
Right.
It's
your parents would have wanted that.
Yeah,
that's what's beautiful about that.
Yeah, and I think that our
what it's true.
We got a bar and curio cabinets.
I think that our the time that we're spending together is really better than all of it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's still going to be a lot of work. There are going to be other things. It's not easy. We still probably have several months worth of this cleaning out ahead of us. It is a lot, but it's really nice to be able to spend the time with my brother and sister again. We're enjoying ourselves. And then, Jody, it's on the weekend, so it's kind of like, come as you want to for the spouses. Jody will come and go. My sister's husband, Jason, will do the same thing. He's actually been running point on all the donations.
He comes and picks up
He's
stuff.
got the pickup truck, and he's loading that baby up, and, we're hitting Goodwill or whatever, once a week. Excuse me. But, and then my brother Duke, his wife Christy, she's very interested in helping out, so that she's when she has to work weekends, sometimes it's tough for her, but it's just kind of a nice, very casual, very laid back, nobody's in a rush. It almost reminds me of the way that my parents wanted us to open presents on Christmas morning, one at a time, where we enjoy what we were doing. And that's exactly what's happening. It's one box. It's like, what is this? Okay, what do you want to do with that? And, it's not chaos. We're just doing it as we go.
It's not rushed, stressful, which is a gift.
Yeah, exactly.
One final question. What's the coolest thing or the thing you most cherish that you found?
Oh, man. God, I need to think about that because it's been
for you. That's going to be different.
Yeah, it's different things. Some of it is the funny stuff, and I wouldn't say it's cherished. But for example, my dad was such a practical joker. One of the things was the bottle of spilled ink, and I don't actually know where that went. I hope that didn't get thrown away, but it's fake.
Bottle of spilled
it's
ink
on its side, and it looks crazy real, like somebody's
like the fake coffee cup you spilled.
Right, exactly. But kind of old school by today's standards. So those kind of things, thinking about the things that he would do to make us laugh, those have been special.
I'll tell you what's special that came to our house that we didn't mention is the peace lily, the big one that he and I used to talk to him about it all the time because he did such a good job keeping it alive. He had this peace lily for 10 years, and I was always so amazed. I was like, Dane, it's so beautiful. Let's talk about it because I do plants a lot at home too. And he talked to me about it, and it ended up coming home, and now I'm caring for it. And so far, it's doing fine. Yeah. So I call it Dane. I've named it Dane.
I think maybe the most priceless things, honestly, are some things that we probably won't keep that we'll take pictures of. But he did so much writing and logging of things. That's what he was. He observed and he wrote everything down. Seeing his handwriting and hearing his voice when you read that and seeing the things that he wrote down at any different time, whether it was 20 years ago or he mowed the grass a year ago on this date or whatever, everything that he wrote down, it's kind of like this randomized journaling. So, to me, that's kind of the cool thing is we're finding stories. Some things that we didn't know too, along with the things that we have known for a lifetime. Yeah, it's a gift. It doesn't replace him or my mom not being here. Obviously,
no way.
There's so many moments where I have that thought too. But man, it sure is. It's fun to be able to go through and laugh at a lot of those things.
Missed any part of the show? Get it all on the Murphy, Sam, and Jody podcast.